Welcome back to a new episode here in SUALVI. I'm on camera again. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how you can make a cool transition in Davinci Resolve 17 using the anim curves and a few other settings. Make sure to stay all the way until the end and let's get started. Okay, so inside Davinci Resolve, the first thing that we're gonna do is first we're gonna drag these two images here, and I'm gonna adjust the size of them so that they're actually fitting our whole timeline settings. And if you're making a video, if you're using a video, when you are using a video, you want to leave a few frames when you're using these type of transitions. If you're working with images, it doesn't matter because it basically copies the same the same frames. But when you're working with video, you need to have frames like left over at the beginning or the end, depending on where you place this transition. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the effects library and we're gonna add a cross dissolve here, and that is the most basic transition, like that is pre-made basically. Let me just change the resolution here of my thing to 1/4 of, because if we're working with a bunch of things, I don't want it to get overwhelmed and crash or whatever while I'm recording this video. And that is pretty much what we're gonna do to set things up at the beginning. Here you will see that it says convert to fusion cross dissolve. That is because this is not specifically a fusion transition, so when we convert it, there's gonna be a few different settings here that show up. Not in this case because there's none really saved because it's a simple cross dissolve. And then you can click here to go into fusion. Now the next thing that we can do is we can just get rid of this cross dissolve, and instead we're gonna add a merge node, and we're gonna add this media to here. And what we're gonna do to create our, like, it's gonna be sort of like a mask transition, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a mask on this merge node because that's gonna affect the media in too, right? So in order to make it really simple, I think we're gonna use a circle. Although let me just check, I think some of the basics are already circles, so let's actually do these. We're gonna create a mask with this square. You already see the effect of these smiley faces in here already, and we're gonna change the width of these to 1, so it's as long as these, and we can do the height. Since it's 1080 divided by 4, then it should be 0.25, and that way we would be covering the 4 layers here that we have. And instead of actually moving these, in order to make it easier for us to move and to position these, what we're gonna do is we're gonna press Ctrl M and we're gonna add a transform node, and it's gonna add it automatically as a mask. What we want to do is disconnect this here and add it as the input. So now with this transform node we can position and move our mask around, and we're gonna do the positioning from 0.5. it's gonna be 0.75, and you'll see that that is right now putting it right in that where we want it to be, but our mask is not exactly at on this point right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to rectangle, and with both of them selected, we're gonna move our rectangle here and position it right where our pivot point is. Right there, you can see there right on the line. So now if we press transform here and we do, so to animate these more easily, what we can do is instead of using this normal transform, what we can do is we can add a transform, but we're gonna use these transform, and we can get rid of this one too, and we're gonna position these Y at 1. It's gonna be at 0.5 in this case. So that's where we're in the same position. And the reason why I changed these is that in this case we can use this position key X and we can modify it with the anim curves. And we're gonna do that right away. And that is gonna animate our curves to come from the side, right? but right now it's only doing 0.5. So what we want to do to edit this is we're gonna go to the modifiers section here, and first we're gonna change the curve to easing, and you can play around here with the different settings here, like you can mix things. And then here on the scale, if you press 1, then that means that's gonna do the whole thing out, right? But also we want it to come from outside, since we have this be our media in. We want the second one to be the one coming in, right? So we're gonna press 2 here again. Instead of having it go out, what we can change is we're gonna use the offset setting here, and we're gonna press -1. So that way it's gonna be coming in from that side. Or you can also press the invert selection here and leave this offset at 0. If you invert it, that's gonna be coming from the right side too. So you can play around with the different things to like see how things are coming through, right? And you can see this animating already. So then what's the next step? What we can do is here, we can just duplicate these, or I'll copy and paste it pressing Ctrl C. Let me just get rid of this other node right here. And instead of adding it right away here, what we can do is press Ctrl M or Shift M. We're gonna add a channel Booleans or Boolean tools. I don't know, people have different names for it, I guess. And then these basically adds sort of like a merge node. And we can connect these here to the foreground. And right now we're not seeing anything, but if you change here the operation to add, and then we move here our position to 0.25, then we have this one coming in here. But now they're both coming from that side. So what we can do is here on the rectangle, we're gonna go to the modifier. Here again on our transform node. And instead of leaving it inverted, we can just leave it normal. Well, not that. So then instead of leaving it inverted, I'm gonna click that on 0, and I'm gonna press -1 here on the offset. So they're gonna be coming from each side, right? So we have these here already. So if you want one of them to be a little bit faster, what you can do is increase the time scale here or play around with the offset. But if you increase the time scale for 1 to 1.2, for example, then the second one is gonna be a little bit faster. So it's gonna get to the end of the point or to the other side a little bit earlier than the top one, right? So then when we copy these again, we can actually just copy all of them like that. And we're gonna separate it a little bit more, and we're gonna connect it here. We're gonna get rid of this one, and we're gonna connect this one again there. And on this transform node, we're gonna adjust the position to 0, which is gonna cover the third position right here that we have. And you see here that there's a little line, and that's then because it's not completely on the right position. So we can just hold Ctrl and move the slider here a little bit, and it's gonna cover it in the right place. And they're both coming from the same side again. So what we can do is again go to the modifier section, and we're gonna press invert, and then gonna double click the offset, so they're gonna be coming from the same side again. And here the 1.2, we can do 1.4 now, and this one's gonna be getting to the point a little bit faster than the other two. Then that's pretty much it. We can do this one more time. And making sure we're always connecting the background to be the previous Boolean here, and then the mask here. Then the transform node, we have to edit these, and it has to be -0.25. That will cover the bottom part of our screen right here. And we can see here there's a little bit of leftover of our preview of the one of the media end, which is the background already. So what we can do to fix this is we're gonna leave these at -2.5, and we're gonna go to a rectangle, and we're gonna hold Ctrl and increase the height of a rectangle just a little bit so that it covers both sections. And we can do it again a little bit more, so then we're actually making it bigger to go a little bit lower like that, and now everything is covered. Then we can go to the transition, then we can go to the transform node again, and we're gonna go to the modifier, and we're gonna take the invert out, and then we're gonna do the -1 on the offset. So they're coming from the different side, and we can do 1.6 in this case. And let's see how that looks. And that looks fine already. Then what you can do also is you can add a motion blur here to each of those. So I'm gonna leave it at quality 4, and I'm gonna decrease the shutter angle to 80. And I'm just gonna repeat the same process for all of them. And that looks pretty good already, right? But there's still one extra thing that we can do, and so that it looks even better. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add here you can add a transform node, and by adding a transform node we can actually flip the whole thing, so it's actually coming from the opposite side again. So then you have two transitions in one basically now. And one more thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add a background here. It's gonna be like that, just don't worry about it yet. And we're gonna press Ctrl M, and we're gonna add a shadow. Now this shadow we're gonna connect to our media 1, and since things are a little bit all close to each other still, I'm gonna just move it around and leave a little bit of space in between things so we can see them better. And we're also gonna connect our transform node here to as a mask to our background, and that way we are adding this sort of little shadow here to our mask that's coming in. We can adjust the softness of it. Pretty much you can play around with these different settings. And since our image it's a little bit yellow, what we can do is we can just like select this pen. Well, it's not like actually finding the color, but we're gonna just like try to sort of like match this color, sort of like yellowish color, like that maybe. And let's see how that looks. Doesn't look that great with that color, but you can play around with these, and you can also just add like a completely different color, actually like a bluish maybe, or maybe a sort of like pink shadow. The point is that you can just adjust any color as you want right here. So now if we preview it, it looks fine, but you can also add one extra thing if you want. You can add a glow here. So we press Ctrl M. So then we can choose this glow, and we're gonna go with the first one actually. And then on this glow, we can just like change the size of it and the glow amount. And the only thing is that it's actually showing a black right now. I'm not sure why. Oh, there it goes. So the reason why I was showing you a little bit darker on the side is because of the application or the apply mode here, and you can do is merge under, and that's gonna actually highlight the shadow color here that we have a little bit more. And right now, if we add it here, if we add it like that, then it looks a little bit better, I would say. And then one last thing that you can do is if you want to like, you can add different effects here. If you go to the edit templates here and you have like some other transitions, you can mix them that way. But what I would recommend you to is that if you want to mix transitions, you want to do it after you have these transitions saved as a macro. And I will show you that in a second, but so that way when you're making the macro again, it doesn't actually like mess things up, because that's one of the issues that I run into. By adding and mixing them right here, the things were just getting a little bit too crazy at the time of rendering things. Okay, so let's just go a little bit further away so we can select everything. And the things that we want to be able to edit on the actual node, like on the actual edit screen, are this transform node. So I'm gonna just move it a little bit, then this shadow, and maybe the glow too. So the way that's gonna work is I like to select move these, and then move this one, and then move this one, because when I select everything and right click and then go to create macro, then it will show the the last ones that I moved or that I interacted with in sort of like that order, like the glow, shadow, and then the transform one here that we have, which is what it will look like in the after screen here on the inspector window. So we're gonna name these transition tutorial, I guess, and we're gonna just go to the transform, and under controls we're gonna choose not size, but we're gonna just flip it horizontally. Vertically it's not gonna do a lot, but you can also click this if you want. I'm just not gonna do it. But then you can also, then we will go to the shadow, and for this one I want to be able to change the softness and the actual color of it. You can add as many as you want when you're making your own transition, but I'm just gonna leave it simple because I don't want to overcomplicate it and have way too many options there. And then on the glow controls, we're gonna actually play around with the glow. You can click this here and then you will see the actual like different options here, right? So what we want to be able to play around with, it's gonna be the glow size and the glow. I think only those two will be fine. So we're gonna select these two glow size here, X glow size and Y glow size, and then we're just gonna click this glow one. Then you press close and it will prompt you to save these. It might show up a different name here, so it's no big deal. And then you would just go and save this on this folder. You're gonna go here to Fusion again, and then you're gonna go to templates and then edit and then transitions. So then you can just save it here. And now the next time that when you restart your Davinci Resolve here, then you will be able to see it. But if you don't want to restart it and you just want to see if everything is working fine or if there's an issue, you can go here to edit templates and it will show up right away. Transition tutorial here, and we can click these. And then if I disconnect this media out, and I'm going to connect this media out, media into here to the foreground, and this one to the background here. And that is one of the issues that I run into, because right now this means that when you import it and put it on a normal clip, it will be inverted. You see these here, and to fix that I actually had to go into the code section. But the easiest way to fix this issue is you just open it in Fusion and then you press Ctrl T, and then now it will just like add the things. And then here in the inspector window we can see the different settings that we had selected, and we can play around with the different settings here and the color and all the different things that we had selected under our macro area. So that is pretty much it. If we go back to our edit screen, we will see that this is actually just showing up there, and like that it looks fine. So if that is a little bit too still for you, one other cool trick that I actually I sort of like tried out and then it worked fine, I guess you could say, is I go here to the generators, actually not effects, and then add an adjustment clip, and we're gonna make it small like that. And now this adjustment click, I'm gonna cut it in half, and then the one on this side, we're gonna go to the dynamic zoom, and we're gonna ease it in. And then on this one, we're gonna click dynamic zoom and then ease this one out. So this one will be sort of like replacing the method of like going inside and adding the extra one inside the Davinci Fusion part. And once it renders out, we can see what we have as our transition that we just built. And there it goes, that is our transition. So that is how you would make a cool transition. You can play around with the different things and you can be as creative as you want. Also, I'm actually building a pack of these styles of transitions. I'm not sure how many there are gonna be in it, but yeah, so I'm thinking about doing a pre-ordering type of thing for those of you interested, but I'm not sure how I will set that up yet. I was thinking of maybe do it in a sort of like mix with the Thea Transitions pack. So whoever orders this Thea Transition pack will basically be pre-ordering this new transition pack. So you will be getting 2 packs for 1, because the Thea Transitions pack is more of like it's based on adjustment layers. So it's a different style of transitions actually, and I might actually build one that's like using this technique too. But the Thea Transition pack actually works on previous versions. This one is gonna be mostly for 17 and on, because it's using a few of the functionalities that are for Davinci Resolve 17. So be on the lookout for that. I'll mention it more again in the next few videos once I have those things set up. But that is pretty much it for this video, and I hope to see you in the next video here in SUALVI. Bye.